Champions Cup Rugby, folks, for the 2022-2023 season's getting underway this weekend. You know what that means? It means the French club jerseys, which I don't usually get to put out on display, are present in the background and on my person. But yeah, we're going to go through I think it's 24 teams, how they're looking in terms of who are the favourites, who are the underdogs, and you guys can let us know your thoughts. Remember, this is the first year we got the South African teams in the Champions Cup, so it's a little bit different. For you South African fans who are kind of new to the competition, I would say it's kind of a pretty interesting one. It's a bit of a mixed bag in that some teams take it ultra seriously, and it is seen as the kind of ultimate prize in European club rugby. They may rest players for their domestic league and then bring out the big guns for the Champions Cup. You're looking at the likes of a Leinster as the kind of most conspicuous example of that one. Other teams, on the other hand, may look at their domestic form and go, especially the leagues with relegation, we're going to throw out secondary string teams for this competition and basically focus on our domestic competition. I'm looking at the likes of a Cast and a Montpellier. Some of the French teams get a bit of stick for that. That being said, the last 2 seasons of the Champions Cup, we've had French winners. 3 of the last 4 finalists were French teams, so there's been a bit of a French renaissance in the Champions Cup rugby. The first couple of years I watched it was, Leinster and Exeter and Saracens and a bit of Racing there too and stuff like that. But it's been a wee bit different. But anyway, you guys can let us know your thoughts as always. I think Dublin is the host for this one, so you won't want to let Leinster get into the final, will you? Because if they're at home, that could be a bit of a tricky one. This blue pen is new and not all that visible on my whiteboard. I swear it's visible for me in person. The teams which are on less than 3% according to the bookmakers. Remember, these are all bookmakers' odds. These are not my odds. Who have the bookies got kind of as the favourites? Well, the least favoured teams with the bookmakers are the likes of the Ospreys, who went through this competition winless last year, and it's kind of struggling in the URC, paying $501. London Irish, who weren't in the competition last year, they're kind of not doing that well in the Premiership this year. Edinburgh, who weren't in the Champions Cup last year, these guys are paying $501, $251. Basically, hope you enjoy the trip. We're not giving you much of a chance. Likewise, Gloucester at $101. Northampton, who went winless, I think, last year in the competition. Cast, who, as I said, are kind of pretty notorious for focusing on the French domestic league. All these teams are on kind of like less than 1% chance or 1% chance of winning the overall thing. So not really well favoured. Sale Sharks are interestingly there as well. Slightly higher, like over 1%, but only just barely. Lyon, who weren't in the competition last year. Bordeaux, who've had a little bit of turmoil this year. Bordeaux actually managed to crack 2% in terms of their chances of winning, but none of these teams really favoured to do anything, and it even includes Ulster, who are like the 4th highest ranked team in the URC right now, and the Sharks, who, despite a bit of off-field turmoil as well, I would have thought are a pretty decent team. They've got some big guns in the team, but 2.5% for the Sharks and the Ulster makes them the highest of this lot. Paying like 29 bucks, the Sharks and Ulster, if they win it. So, yeah, pretty long odds. But there you go. That's kind of the bottom of the pack. None of these teams are predicted to do much of anything. But as I should say, there's a big difference even in this less than 3% range between these teams at the bottom and these guys at the top. But still, my whiteboard has only got so much space. So, that kind of is what it is. The next ranked teams who actually managed to get a 3% chance, there's 5 teams on 3%, so paying $26. And that is Montpellier, who last year had this weird thing where like 1 week they trotted out a pretty good side. I think it was against Leinster. And then another week they trotted out like an absolute B-side and got flogged. So that's what I mean about not all the teams focus solely on this competition. The URC champion Stormers are ranked only at 3%. It will be interesting to see where the South African teams put their focus, to be honest. Claremont, who if I'm correct, aren't doing all that well in the top 14 this season. So it'll be interesting to see where their focus goes. Harlequins, always a very fun team to watch in the old Premiership, and then also the Bulls. So of the three South African teams, the highest two ranked ones are the Stormers and the Bulls. Certainly on the lower half of the odds for this competition. So interesting, neither of them are ranked a wee bit higher, given that the Stormers and the Bulls were the finalists in the URC last year. So there you go. That's 3%. Slightly higher than them is Munster on 3.3%. I guess maybe ranked higher than the South African teams based on a bit of European experience. They had a bad start to the URC season, but they do seem to be coming right. So we'll see how they go basically in Europe. Exeter Chiefs, so champions a few years ago, like 2020 I think it was. These guys were one of the dominant teams, taken a little bit of a slide since then. 7th in the Premiership, 3.7%. So, yeah, not really given a heck of a lot of chance. It's been a bit of a shift for Exeter since they changed some of the laws. Especially, I think goal line dropout has not been a really helpful one for the Exeter boys. But anyway, the Premiership champions, Leicester, are at 4.5%. So, yeah, $17 they are paying. So still not quite in that elite level of teams favoured to get the job done. By the way, if you think you know how these predictions are going to go, I should have mentioned this at the start. We've got a Superbru pool. So it's a free game down in the description. We'll basically play the predictions and see who kind of comes out on top. In the Premiership right now, I am second. So I'm doing pretty good. In the URC, I am bloody awful. So, yeah, a bit of a mixed bag. Who else have we got after Leicester? It is Racing 92, the team who always seems to be a bit of a bridesmaid in this competition. I think they've been runners-up several times, but never seem to get it done. Semi-finalists in last year's competition. Saracens, who remember after getting relegated with the whole salary cap thing, have missed out on Champions Cup Rugby for a couple of years now. But they won it not that long ago, and it was 2019. Saracens won it, so they are the top ranked of the Premiership rugby teams. Current champions, La Rochelle, that's Ronan O'Gara's side, 9.5%, so they are the third favourite, paying $8 to win the whole thing. Second favourite is another French team in Toulouse, another one of last year's semi-finalists, 10.5%, obviously one of the big name teams in French rugby. As I was going through these numbers, my wife was in the background. She found the name Toulouse for a team playing competitive sports. In English, that sounds, I don't want to say funny, but you know what I mean. Toulouse, you'd rather be called to win. But anyway, I told her it's a place name, so sometimes that's just the way it goes. And then Leinster, kind of unsurprisingly, undefeated in the URC thus far this season. They do want to get another star on their jersey. They are the favourites, paying $3.25, 23.5% chance of getting the job done this year. So, yeah, big-time favourites. But they've been favourites for a few years now. And, yeah, they haven't won the competition for several years. So, yeah, is this year they can get it done? We'll have to wait and see. You guys let us know your thoughts. Who do you reckon is kind of being written off? I got to admit, I saw the Sharks and Ulster's numbers, maybe even Bordeaux to a degree, and thought that's maybe a little bit harsh. Also, given the Stormers won the competition last year, I guess it's the uncertainty of how the South African teams are going to line up in the Champions Cup that maybe sees them down at kind of only 3%. But certainly it's kind of unsurprising to see last year's semi-finalists up at the top end of the board, plus Saracens, who've just genuinely missed the competition through being relegated, last couple of years ago, so they weren't eligible for this competition. So, yeah, they always tend to do pretty well. But anyway, you guys let us know your thoughts. Remember, Superbru pool if you want to play along. And as always, let us know your thoughts, and talk to you guys again soon. See you later.